One of, if not the best anime character type, in my opinion, is smart characters. I love smart characters, and most of my favorite characters of all time are of this variety, like very smart anime characters. Well, in today's video, I'm going to be ranking the top 11 anime characters in terms of smartness. Now, you may be wondering, why only 11? Well, I only go off shows that I know, and so I looked at all my shows, and I only found 11 people really worth mentioning in this video. So that's why it's top 11. I know that might be weird to some people. It could just be top 10 with an honorable mention, but I felt like that would be wrong because everybody deserves a spot. With that being said, let's get straight into it. So coming in at number 11 here, this may be a shock to a lot of people, but we have Light Yagami. Now, Light Yagami is incredibly smart, don't get me wrong, but the reason why Light is so low is because he's not really smart enough to control his ego. I'm not gonna lie, like, he really just cannot handle it. Like, I get it, it's the whole like, oh, but he has the god complex and stuff like that, but Light, without this death note, he gets caught really quickly by L. I'm not gonna lie, he's lucky he has this thing. If he doesn't have these supernatural forces on his side, if he would just happen to commit a crime, L would catch him immediately. It would be so quick. Now, Light is still incredibly smart, don't get me wrong. He's not an idiot by any means. He is a very smart character. However, the reason why he's able to get away with a lot of the stuff that he does is because it is supernatural ability. And at the end of the day, how are you supposed to account for that when obviously nobody's going to believe that's real, right? Like, the best detective of today's world would have these same issues if someone like Light existed, because nobody would believe that this is real. Like, nobody would be able to understand this. So Light is still incredibly smart, don't get me wrong, but he had a lot of help from supernatural forces, and his ego hurts him a lot. Now, before we move on to number 10, if you're enjoying this video, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, hype the video. I upload anime videos 3 times a week, so there's something here for you all to enjoy. Also, I have my Discord in the description. Once I have 50 members, I'm going to be doing a video with you guys, and we can talk about a bunch of anime in there. But let's continue to number 10 here, which we have Lelouch Lamperouge. Now, Lelouch is a similar situation to Light. He does get a lot of stuff accomplished because of supernatural ability. I do think Lelouch is a little bit smarter than Light, because Lelouch, even without the Geass, is still incredibly manipulative and still a phenomenal leader, and can still play in the shadows and in the light at the same time. And I think that's what makes him so incredibly smart, is because the manipulation factor, how well he knows how people work. Obviously, he has a lot of help from the Geass and things like that. And Lelouch is also very emotional like Light. He doesn't necessarily have the god complex as such as Light does, but obviously we've seen moments like where he ordered Suzaku to live. I mean, truthfully, did he need to do that? No, it made for a beautiful story and ending and stuff like that. But yeah, emotionally, he lets his emotions get involved as well, so his emotional intelligence isn't as high as his actual intelligence, but still phenomenal leader. By the way, if you disagree with any of these, that totally makes sense. I mean, at the end of the day, we're debating something that can't really be quantified, I guess. So if you have some people higher, some people lower, it makes sense. But let's move on to number 9 here. We have Senku. Now, I think Senku gets overrated a lot. People call him a lot smarter than he actually is. I feel like, oh, he's rebuilding all of society. But he is doing something that has been already done. Now, don't get me wrong, that still, it takes like incredible smarts to do, but I do believe everybody ahead of him on this list, if they wanted to, could be able to do the same thing if they were a science nerd. Like, obviously Senku is a big science nerd, so it's very easy for him to do that, but Senku sucks at reading people. Well, he doesn't suck at reading people, but he's not like someone like Lelouch or Light, who can read people very well or have like the ability to manipulate like that. And I get that's not really his goal or anything like that, but he hasn't really shown that his people skills or emotional intelligence, well, actually his emotional intelligence is pretty solid, but he's not like, he doesn't really have the people intelligence, I guess, if that makes sense. I do think Senku is very smart, obviously, to rebuild society, but he hasn't really invented anything, and he hasn't really shown that he's necessarily smarter than other people, just more autistic in his niche, if that makes sense. But let's move on to number 8 here, which we have Kiritsugu Emiya. Now, this may come to a shock to a lot of people, because Senku, I think, could definitely be argued that he is smarter than Kiritsugu. The reason why I have Kiritsugu higher is because he basically imploded everything on his own. Like, Kiritsugu from a child has pretty much manipulated the world to his like oyster. Now, obviously you can't manipulate everything except if you're certain people on this list later on, which is why Kiritsugu is so low. But everything Kiritsugu had could have control over, he did. He controlled Saber, who is a literal, like, I mean, they're not gods, but at the same time they kind of are, because they You just summon them in. They have super strong powers, like supernatural abilities and stuff like that nobody else does. And Kiritsugu still was able to manipulate pretty much all of them. He was able to manipulate everybody in his way. He was able to manipulate the whole world pretty much. He doesn't let his emotion get in the way, even with his wife and kids and stuff like that. Like, he does not let that get in the way of anything that goes on. And the reason why I specifically have him above Senku is because he invented something. He invented those bullets and the time, what is it called? Where he can, like, accelerate time. I forget what that's called. But he invented a lot of stuff that, like, just really shouldn't be possible. So that's why I do have him higher than Senku. Because, yes, Senku knows how to do everything, how to reinvent everything. But Kiritsugu actually invented two things that, like, are just unheard of. So that's why I have Kiritsugu higher. Not only is he an inventor, but he can genuinely take control over anybody. Like, he has this capabilities to do that. Next up at number 7 here, we have Dr. Tenma from Pluto. Now, I am reminded while doing this that Kenzo Tenma from Monster probably should be on here too, but I did low-key forget about him, so if you're expecting him, I am sorry. But we have Dr. Tenma from Pluto, and Dr. Tenma to me obviously is very smart because he basically was the start of this whole AI thing. He was able to create robots with feelings and stuff like that, and able to basically create an entirely new society. Now, he didn't do it alone necessarily, if I'm not mistaken, but still, incredibly smart. He was kind of the OG. He basically created a new race of people. So yeah, I think that takes a lot of capabilities and obviously a lot of smarts. And I know what you're thinking. If this guy is only halfway through the list, who could be ahead of him? And there's some real smart characters in some shows I've seen. So Tenma is incredibly smart, of course, but I think there are better. Here at number 6, we have Bulma Briefs from Dragon Ball, or most people just know her as Bulma. Now, Bulma is very high because not only does she know, like, pretty much everything about the world, like, she's a science nerd like Senku. She could rebuild the world if she had to, right? But she has invented things that just literally should not be possible, and she's invented things on a wide scale. Like, she can genuinely improve the world and has improved the world just with her inventions. Not only that, she has created, like, the radar for the Dragon Ball. She don't know shit about Dragon Balls, like, when she first made that radar, and all it took was, what, one Dragon Ball, and she was able to create a radar to find all of them? Like, that is, like, impossible. How did she even know, like, you know, how do you even know these things and stuff like that? Bulma is just incredibly smart and a massive innovator. But again, Bulma is, I don't want to say I would say lacks the intelligence control of other people, if that makes sense. Like, again, she's just Senku but on crack pretty much. Like, she's just way smarter in that certain field, but there are characters ahead of her who are just smart in, like, every field. Number 5 here, we have Shikamaru Nara. Now, Shikamaru is incredibly smart, and if you want to have Bulma ahead of her or ahead of him, I could totally get that. I think the way I value smarts is a little bit differently, because I think with, like, Bulma and Senku and stuff like that, like, inventing stuff or, like, reinventing stuff or just knowing things, I think, yes, that does take a lot of smarts, but anybody could do that with enough time. I think the capability that, like, Shikamaru has to be able to lead and map out situations and on the fly be able to know, like, what's going on and have control over every situation he's in, I mean, that to me is a lot more telling of how smart somebody is rather than, like, how much they know, because how much you know can genuinely be, like, learned no matter how dumb you are, except, like, with cases like Bulma, obviously she invented a lot of shit and you're just not inventing stuff if you're dumb. But Shikamaru to me is a character that obviously he is a phenomenal leader. He's a guy who's always in control. He's a guy who always knows what's going on. But most importantly, why I put him this high, and I think a lot of people might not remember, is, like, I was thinking specifically in the Chunin exams, like, he read every single person, like, to a T in the Chunin exams, including the crowd and everything like that. He knew what the people wanted to see. He knew what his opponents were going to do. He knew what the other fights were going to do. Like, he not only is just incredibly smart at leading, at controlling, and just in the things around him, like, he just knows a lot about what's going on, but he is very perceptive in, like, how people work. And that's why I think I have him higher, because I think it is so much easier to learn everything about science than it is to learn everything about people, and I think Shikamaru kind of has that down. Next up, though, at number 4, we have Johann Liebert. Now, Johann, he is incredibly manipulative, incredibly smart. He is a guy that could probably rebuild society if he wanted to, like someone like Senku. He could do the science stuff if he wanted to. And he reads people even better than Shikamaru. Now, the reason why Johann isn't higher, because a lot of people do have him as, like, one of the smartest characters of all time, which obviously I do. I believe he, landed number 4, sorry. The thing with Johann is he is, like, he has the whole personality issue thing. He is, I don't want to say catchable, but he is, I guess maybe catchable is the word. I don't know. He's not catchable, but he is, if that makes sense. Like, in terms of getting him behind bars, I think would be incredibly hard. Like, he knows how to play around the law. Like, he knows everything there is to know. But Johan has that personality issue, and he has the issue of it. I don't want to say being cocky, but like showing himself. Like, there are like Tenma sees this guy so much and could blast him genuinely, like if he had the blick on him or something like that, you know what I'm saying? Or if he wanted to get into it. But like, Johan is so evil and so manipulative and just so good at destroying people like mentally that it is very difficult. However, like I said, he does show himself, which I think the 3 ahead of him do not, which does kind of leave him a little bit behind. Now we're at number 3, and we have El Lalia. Now, I think El is way smarter than Light, like way smarter. If you don't know like the lore behind Light, he was like what, the world's greatest detective at, what was it, 4 years old? It might have been a little older, like maybe 8 or something like that. But he is the guy, if they can't figure something out, they call him and he gets it done like that. Like, he figures out everything, and he even figured out most of the stuff about Light. Even though it's supernatural causes, he still figured most of it out. I think the thing with Light, or El, sorry, that puts him above everybody else is that he doesn't let emotion get involved. He just gets to the case, gets on the case. He can manipulate people if he wants to. But if you want to know the truth about why he's not even higher, because El has shown no weaknesses in terms of intelligence, in my opinion. I think he's very strongly minded in everything. The only reason is because the 2 guys ahead of him did what he couldn't, and that's predict supernatural causes and be able to understand like what is going on in situations that wouldn't make sense. So yeah, I think that's really the only thing. Also, I do think they have a little more control over everything than El does, but I think El could if he wanted to. So you could argue that either way, but I think El at 3 is fair. Next at number 2, we have Fyodor Dostoevsky, I think. Now, this could be a little bit of a theory work, I guess. But I guess when you're talking about smarts, I guess it's all kind of theory work, right? And to me, Fyodor, the reason why he is so smart and the reason why he is number 2, because everything I said about El, you could say about Fyodor. He doesn't put his emotion into it. He is always dedicated to the thing. And he is always 4 steps ahead, right? Like, he is always way ahead of everybody. As soon as they think they know where he is, he was there 4 months ago. He was not there, right? Like, he works in such a way that it would be almost impossible to catch him. He's also able to predict supernatural causes and even use them to his advantage. Like, he's done that multiple times in the show. He's able to predict people, read people, manipulate people, do it all. There's not a single weakness in Fyodor. And to Fyodor, everything that has happened in Bungo Stray Dogs is somehow tied to him. Like, he has controls and pots. Like, everything that happens, he allows to happen. That is just how incredibly smart he is. Now, with how the anime ended in the last season, which obviously we still have more to come, hopefully. I don't know. I haven't announced that other season, if I'm not mistaken, but that's besides the point. With more to come, we need to see, like, you know, is he really gone? I don't really think so. I think he's always 4 steps ahead, and I don't really see him losing right there. So we will see what happens with Fyodor. Now, if he did just lose right there and he is truly gone, then yeah, maybe he needs to go down a little bit. But we're going to move on to number 1, and if Fyodor is 4 steps ahead, then it is pretty obvious Dazai is 5 steps ahead. He is easily number 1 in my opinion, because everything I said about Fyodor is true with Dazai. Everything that happens in Bungo is related to Dazai. Every little thing that has gone on, he has predicted, he has planned, he has manipulated. Even the part about letting Fyodor go, he already knew that he was going to be gone. He already knew that that wasn't right, but he had to give his comrades something, because the mind of Dazai is genuinely 5 steps ahead. If he were to explain to them that Fyodor's already here, this and that, like, yeah, they would probably believe him, but they need to gather evidence and do other things. And Dazai, at the same time, is pretty manipulative, because, yes, we do know he is a good guy now. However, he doesn't tell them everything. He does a lot of stuff on his own, and he does not keep them in the loop a lot. So it makes you wonder, is he manipulating them? Is he really a good guy? Like, he's genuinely such a impactfully smart character that it is even hard for the audience to tell, because why would Dazai not lead them to Fyodor when he knew where he was? And yet, Dazai went in there on his own to confront him, beat him because he's 5 steps ahead, and then even then, I'm sure he knows that it's not over. Like, he knows everything that's going on, and then he lets Ronpo believe he's a good detective when he's really placing everything for Ranpo to be a good detective in a lot of the parts. Like, to me, Dazai's intelligence is honestly limitless. He is basically everybody else before him, but smarter. And then the big thing for me, and the reason why I put him number 1, is because he is unreadable. Fyodor is a little bit readable. Dazai's not. Like, honestly, Dazai could be a villain next season, and it would make sense. He could go from good to bad on any scale, and it would make sense. We could figure out that he is also Fyodor, and it would make sense. How smart this guy is genuinely incredible, and we really have no idea what he is capable of because of how smart he is. So that's the reason why I have him number 1, mainly because of his manipulation and his ability to predict, his aptitude with stuff. Now, obviously, he knows a lot about the stuff going on, and he's able to predict the supernatural, like someone like L would not be able to. Dazai has predicted things that he didn't even know existed. Like, that is how smart he is, and it's really hard to quantify. I'd really recommend watching Bungo if you do enjoy smart characters, because Dazai and Fyodor are 2 of the most important characters in the story, and they're both incredibly smart, and it's so fun to watch. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe. I hope to see you guys in a future video. I'm gonna head out now. Peace.